Hello everyone, my name is Victoria and welcome back to my channel. Today I have green tea. It's the tea of the day. And I got this brand new cat mug, which is so cute. I got it for Christmas. Recently I've been drinking a lot of tea because it's relaxing and it has a lot less caffeine than coffee, which I really need less caffeine. It just gives me so much anxiety and drives me up the wall. But today I want to dive deep into Disney Pixar's new movie called Soul. So grab a cup of coffee or tea, whatever you prefer, get cozy, and let's go. So last year, 2020, Soul came out on December 25th. Christmas. And since then, people have been raving about it, but I was really hesitant to watch it just because it deals with some existential crisis stuff, and I wasn't sure if Disney would actually be able to handle something that mature and deep and put it into an animated movie. But let me tell you, it shocked me. This movie shook me to my core. In this movie, the main character is Joey Gardner. He's an aspiring jazz pianist, and he's also a part-time music teacher. In the beginning of the movie, you can tell he's not fulfilled with his job, but then he was presented with two opportunities. He could go full-time being a music teacher, or he had an opportunity to play with a famous jazz musician. So we see him go into the audition and he succeeds. This woman is blown away, the whole band is blown away, and so he walks out confidently and then he falls down a sewer hole where his body actually died, but then his soul was shot into another dimension where the light was, and there was essentially a conveyor belt where all of the dead souls were traveling to. But he was not ready to die, so he ran the opposite direction and threw himself into another dimension called the Great Before. This was just a couple minutes of the intro, and they did it really well. It wasn't necessarily rushed, and you saw who Joe was as a character. What I thought Disney did, which was really cool and I think was very subtle, is that Joe, I believe, is supposed to be the average Joe, as in anyone can be in his shoes. Joe is a really relatable character. He has a pretty average job, but he's not very successful or happy in it. He doesn't really know what he wants in life, and he's a middle-aged adult. In this movie, almost all of the adults and parents watching it will be able to relate directly. And the whole issue causing his existential crisis is he has this passion, but so many people are telling him not to chase it because it's a big risk. And then when he falls into the Great Before and his soul is on this conveyor belt away from life, he realizes that he still wants to pursue his dream and he's not ready to die. I think this is a big wake-up call to all of the viewers that are not little kids, that you only get one life. I would even go so far as to say this movie, even though it's a Disney Pixar movie, this was made for the parents, the adults that are watching this. I don't think that an 8 or 9-year-old is really going to be able to understand and relate to an existential crisis. Not to mention, Disney is dealing with heavy topics, actual death and what happens after death. And through this topic of life and death and birth, they actually use a lot of different kinds of beliefs all throughout the world. We see chakras, we see meditation, we even see a hippie character that alludes to a bunch of different things. I think the timing that the movie was released is also so significant. Through 2020, the entire world has been suffering and going through so much pain and confusion, and with that, I think that there is a spiritual revival all around the world where people are kind of waking up and realizing, I don't want to work the 9 to 5. I'm not happy in that. I don't want to work a desk job and do this and that. I don't want to do what these people in my family, in my school, in my work are all demanding that I do with my life. This movie acts as a wake-up call to everyone that isn't happy where they are. And that's why it was so emotional, because any adult that has struggled with this, has either gone through an existential crisis or is going through an existential crisis, can relate to this. Not to mention, I love the representation in the beginning of this movie and throughout. The main character is a middle-aged black man, and we have not seen that in a Disney Pixar film, so that was really cool. We also get to see the little things that make up his personality, like how black culture in New York City has influenced his passions in jazz. Overall, this was a really great character build, and not only is it relatable, but it's something very new. So after being on the conveyor belt, Joe Gardner accidentally shoots himself into the Great Before, where all souls are made and then given the majority of their personality. In the Great Before, there are these beings that kind of run this, and they're supposed to be a physical representation of the entire universe. Their name is called Jerry, and they mistake Joe for a mentor, and a mentor is supposed to help baby souls get the rest of their personality. Of course, then Joe, who has absolutely no idea what's going on, was assigned the most difficult soul, whose name was 22. And 22 has been mentored by people like Buddha and Abraham Lincoln and Mother Teresa, and they all failed. They went to the Sea of Lost Souls and then found a portal back to Earth, where Joe's body was in the hospital, except then we get a soul switch kind of deal. 22 accidentally ends up in Joe's body, and then Joe accidentally ends up in the therapy cat's body, who is at Joe's feet. At first I thought it was gonna be like, oh my god, here we go again. Another body switch cliche. We see that in every single movie. It is boring at this point. I genuinely thought that that was going to dampen the plot, and I was disappointed in Disney for going with that again, and I didn't think it was going to be needed. But this switch led to 22 having interactions with people in Joe's life through his eyes, and it showed her what there is to love about life. The most heartfelt scene, I think, in this movie, in the interaction that 22 had with Joe's barber, 22 asked the barber what his passions were, and he said he always wanted to go to vet school and become a veterinarian. And so 22, of course, never having had a human life, thought, wow, you must be miserable being a barber. But the barber, he said, well, no, while I couldn't afford vet school, I'm happy right where I am. The barber just simply learned to love and accept where he is in life, and he loves his interactions with his customers, and he's satisfied in life even though his spark, his passion, was not fulfilled. Life is so much more about relationships and living in the moment. So while Joe and 22 are, one, trying to get Joe back into his actual body, and two, finding 22 her spark, they're working out their own existential crises. Eventually, the Jerry system realized that they have left the Great Before and catch them. So they're brought back to the Great Before, but then 22 becomes a lost soul in the Sea of Lost Souls because she never found her spark. So with that, she fell into a Great Depression. And in a quick and fairly anticlimactic action scene, Joe has to go and rescue her from the Sea of Lost Souls. And it is there where 22 realizes that her spark is enjoying the little things in life. At least that's only what we can assume. They didn't make that super obvious, but that is what Disney was alluding to. And guided by Joe, 22 teleports back to Earth, and Joe's given another opportunity to return back to his earthly body. Now, I don't cry during movies. I really don't. The last time I cried at a movie was Marley and Me. Not even romances can get me. But on the crying scale, I would say that it was like a 3 out of 5. I had tears coming down my face. The whole movie was really incredible, and it was very emotional because it talks about existential crisis, and that's a really heavy topic. The fact that they were able to put it into a kids movie and play it out successfully was very interesting to see. However, they ended the movie with a cliffhanger ending, and I'm not sure if I like it or not. I get why they did it. However, my initial thought as a viewer was, well, what does Joe get to do with the rest of his life? Is he gonna be the music teacher? Is he gonna play for the musician? Is he going to give all of that up and just be a hippie? Will he contact Lisa, which is a woman that is rarely ever mentioned in the movie, but that is alluded to be his romantic partner, or somebody he misses? Will 22 ever appear back into his life as a child or something like that, a person in his classroom? I really wanted to see some kind of wraparound conclusion, something that brings it all together. But going back to what I said with Joe being the average Joe, being somebody that a viewer can put themselves in their shoes, it does make sense that Disney just left all of that out because that's up to the mind of the viewer. All of those things are so possible. And quite frankly, it doesn't really matter because he learned how to enjoy life and be in the moment and be happy with what he has. These questions are left unanswered on purpose because the viewer should be able to step in his shoes. The only other criticism that I have about this movie is the action scene where Joe has to rescue 22 from the Sea of Lost Souls, and it was very anticlimactic. 22 was stuck in a whirlwind of her own emotions that Joe had to push through, and it just seemed like something that we have seen before. And when she is rescued, it's not definite as to what necessarily saved her or what her spark is. She was just given a badge that looked like Earth. Does that just mean that her spark is that she loves life? She loves Earth? We don't know that at all. But besides that pretty mediocre scene, the rest of this movie was beautiful and amazing. I just want to know how it turned out for the younger audiences. Do the younger audiences understand that this is about existence and what is the meaning of life and those questions that this movie is tackling? Or are they just seeing this as entertainment, as a child should? And while this movie of course doesn't answer the questions that we all have, what am I supposed to be doing on this earth, or what is life, it does give you one thing to think about, which is there might not even be a reason. Just enjoy it. Just be in the moment. Try and see the joy in the little things. While I don't have any children in my life, I would really like to see what they thought about this movie, because I wouldn't want the idea of existential crisis and this whole plot to confuse them, because that would really be damaging to the movie as a whole. Especially it being a Disney Pixar movie and everything, that's kind of the target audience. Oh, and one last thing I noticed, I thought that the title was super clever because it's called Soul, which of course it's about souls traveling and what souls are and their existence and what they're supposed to be doing on life. But also he is like a jazz musician, like soul. He has soul, music has soul. I thought that was a pretty cool play on words. I don't know if anyone else caught it. I just thought that was cute. So for this movie, I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. Definitely go watch this when you have a chance. This was a really good movie, very emotional, very inspiring. Well, thank y'all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and comment down below. I love hearing from y'all. And if you wanna see more from me, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you get notifications every single time that I post, and I'll see y'all in next week's video. Bye guys.